What's this? Man, I've got a bad cord here. There we go. I like that. I like that. What's this, Badone?
Evan the Dude, Doobie Ashtray.
Ooh. Let's see what you're doing. Well, we're going to be smoking a lot tonight. Will we be smoking on that King's Pack? I want to smoke on that King's Pack tonight. Warriors down 0-2 in his best of 7. We're going to talk to BA in just a second. He'll be on the call for tonight's game alongside Stan Van Gundy. Also does play-by-play for the Milwaukee Brewers. Maybe we'll get a quick thought about the Oakland A's because what's going on with them was I watched that Cubs game yesterday in the afternoon, and I was just like, and that was before the Las Vegas announcement that they bought land in Las Vegas, and Dave Cavill's quoted in the Las Vegas Review. I just felt really bad watching that game for A's fans. Really sick. And I also was thinking about, well, damn, they're going to be this bad. Maybe I should set some money aside and just bet against the A's every single game. I mean, taking team totals, run lines, you name it. That is a non-competitive baseball team. So we'll get a baseball question to Brian Anderson coming up here. Oh, he's on the line. All right, BA. We love BA here on the Morning Rush on 95.7 The Game. He'll be on a call for tonight's game for TNT alongside Stan Van Gundy, a dynamic duo. They're really good in the booth. Also does play-by-play for the Milwaukee Brewers, as I mentioned. March Madness, Big Ten Sports, MLB, does it all. Brian Anderson here on the Morning Rush. What's up, BA? Good morning, man. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. Went through the whole Wikipedia list, man. That's nice. I appreciate that.
That's what I do, man. I got to butter these guys up. I got to let them know who you are, BA. You got to flex a little bit, man. You do a lot.
Hey, BA, on that note, would you remind the Van Gundy boys that they're from Martinez, California, and they can have a little more love for our local teams?
We need them to root.
Absolutely.
Nah,
I'm teasing,
man.
but absolutely.
You know, speaking of which, we can get into the series in just a second. Obviously, we'll ask you your thoughts on Draymond Green and what happened there and how can the Warriors get back into the series. But Stan Van Gundy is really damn good. You got to tell him not to go back into coaching. Mm-hmm. He's got a 20-year career ahead of him in the booth.
Yeah, for sure. I love him. He was with us in the bubble. That was a little bit of a test run for him. He had started with ESPN, was doing a lot of studio, but then we brought him in to do the analyst work for games in the bubble, and he was awesome. You know, we all got a chance to work with him, me and Harlan and Ian Eagle, and I think Marv even got a chance to work with him a little bit. So, yeah, we knew he was going to be a home run, and he really does his homework. He's super funny, super intelligent, as you know, and he's a very proud Northern California person. He's actually went to a high school baseball game in I think Martinez last night with some of his old high school buddies that he's very close with. So, yeah, he's all in. He loves his Giants and the A's, and yeah, it's always he's a big baseball fan. So
huge baseball fan.
Questions about baseball too.
Yeah, he goes on the Levitard show and gives them baseball facts at times. They call him Van Gundy. I'm dead serious, Van Gundy's facts. So, well, tonight with this game, obviously the Draymond Green thing feels like the biggest story, not just locally but nationally. Have at it. Your thoughts on the whole thing that transpired with Draymond Green?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's great talk show fodder. I'm sure you guys have been having a field day, but you know, for me, it's I've been on the Clippers Sun series, and you know, I don't. It's a story for sure, and we'll definitely have follow up, and we'll get reactions from whatever we can get tonight. Chris Haynes is our reporter, who's excellent at gathering up that kind of information, but you know, it doesn't discount what's happened with Sacramento. I mean, they're a really good team, and it's interesting to me that they have not been favored in any of these games. And here's the 3 seed, and you know they've proven all year they've been a really good team. I don't want to discount what they're doing. So for us, we just we focus on Game 3, and I don't have an opinion. I mean, I think I think it could go either way. I was a little surprised that he got suspended, but honestly, it's probably when I got the explanation, like that all makes sense to me as well. It certainly tips the series a little bit, you know, especially if you feel like he was out the last 8 minutes of Game 2. That certainly affected the Warriors, and now he's going to miss Game 3. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I think there's a lesson in all of that too. Like Draymond has to be really careful, and I hope I hope he will be. He's one of our colleagues too. At Turner,
Right.
He's under contract with us. So if he gets knocked out, I'm sure we'll be calling him to try to get him on the broadcast as soon as possible. But man, I just don't. I don't know how he can do that anymore. Like, you just can't put yourself in that position to even give them a chance to eject you or run the risk of suspension. And, as Joe Dumars said, it was based on a lot of past occurrences. So I think that kind of tells it all.
No doubt. And with now Adam Silver, the commissioner of the league, is in the building, and you're standing up on the chairs, you're going at it with fans. And I at first I said, no, that's nothing. But when somebody on our chat, BA, brought up, the malice in the palace, and all it takes is one fan to throw something. All it takes is one fan, and when you're doing that and the commissioner is there, I get why he is suspended. So the Warriors have to move on. They said that yesterday, Steve Kerr and Bob Myers, and they have to move on and try to figure out a way to not face an 0-3 deficit here. So it's desperation time, but how can they flip things here? Because the points off turnovers, plus 27 for Sacramento, plus 30 in points in the paint, plus 14.
There's a lot of areas of concern for the Warriors, not just missing Draymond Green, and that is a big piece of it. But, we'll see. First of all, we'll see, and I'm anxious to get to the arena tonight and find out from Steve what his plan is and see how, what his plan is. Obviously, Wiggins being back is really important now because he was important anyway, but especially if you're going to lose Draymond Green, he can play the 4, and then kind of I don't think there's a real issue in those starting minutes, whether Jordan Poole elevates or not. It's really
the non-Steph minutes, right? The non-Steph minutes have been atrocious for the Warriors.
It's always the non-Steph minutes, but now it becomes like what happens when, you start getting into the waves with what you do in your front court. And so I'm fascinated to see what that's going to be like. I do think, Sacramento is incredibly underrated, and to some extent that's fair. I mean, I think it's understood. They haven't been part of the mix in such a long time, and now they are. But, we saw them a number of times in the regular season, and they're really good. They've got great talent, great depth. Their pieces fit. They kind of look like a team like the Warriors were when they started their run. They've got guys who fit the pieces, and Sabonis is such a great player that they've got to come up with some kind of answer to stop him. He's kind of the hub of the wheel. He plays a lot like Draymond does, but he scores a lot more and can score a lot more. So that really, to me, is going to be the interesting piece to the puzzle. And one game does not a series make. Obviously, if you go down 3-0, almost impossible to come back. So I'm sure the home crowd will help the Warriors along. They have a great home record in the regular season, but it's going to have to be one of those big Curry games, and somebody else is probably going to have to chip in with 20 to 30. Clay or Jordan Poole or something along those lines for them to beat Sacramento.
What's been the most surprising thing for the Warriors for you while watching these first two games? Is it their lack of being able to slow down De'Aaron Fox, their lack of offensive punch? Like, what is it?
No, I think, it's just more philosophically, they've always turned the ball over and been sloppy, but they've been able to kind of cover that. So they really don't have room on the margins right now. So that we saw that in the regular season. I was curious to see if that would change in the playoffs. So that would be the surprise, that they're still playing the way they play, which is, I don't want to call it reckless because that's the way they play. It's fast. And when you play that fast with that many passes and the ball movement is always impressive, but you're going to run there's more opportunities for the risk of turnovers. And so the turnover story has always been an issue, and they used to be able to get away with that, and now they can't. And so it's really about the bench for me, and what kind of production they get off the bench. And because their starters can run with anybody, and you still have Stephen Curry, who's the alpha, and so he can change a series and a game in a heartbeat. So I'm not surprised Sacramento's having success, though. I'm not at all. Like I said, I'm just watching them this year and just kind of seeing what they're about. And there's a lot of Warriors DNA, obviously, with Mike Brown and the way they approach things and the way they've kind of built not just their on-court activity, but their entire culture. He talks about the first floor to the third floor and from ownership down. And I think that's important. I think that matters in the playoffs more than anything. And, their crowd's electric. Their whole vibe of being back in the playoffs. So I'm only surprised that the Warriors weren't able to finish any better in the first two games. And a lot of that has to do with the turnovers, and they haven't been able to cover that. But, still a long series. They could easily get back in it. I expect them to tonight.
All right, and I wonder, and I know Stan Van Gundy's going to say it on the broadcast. Now, locally, I'm working for NBC Sports Bay Area, so I'm going to be locked in on that a little bit in the arena, BA, but I do respect you guys. But I wonder what Stan Van Gundy's going to say about the way Sacramento is defending Stephen Curry. I'm looking at these third quarter numbers, and you've caught a lot of Steph Curry games, BA, where he just goes on these blitzes in the third quarter and a flurry of threes. And so far in the third quarter, he's had a total of 3 field goal attempts. 1 3-point attempt, which is unlikely. You'd never see that with a Steph Curry stat line, and 3 turnovers. And you see De'Aaron Fox and Davion Mitchell pressing up on him. I wonder what Van Gundy thinks about the way they can unlock Steph Curry and get him away from that, shake free from this press, because that pressure defense Sacramento has employed has changed this series.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he would say about it. I'm anxious. We have our production meeting here in another half hour. So, I'm sure what he would talk about is very similar to what we were, talking about in the Clippers-Sun series, because Kevin Durant has gone long stretches without field goal attempts. He went over 6 minutes without one in Game 1. Matter of fact, Kevin Durant did not have a field goal attempt in the third quarter of Game 1. He had 5 assists, but 0 field goal attempts. And then he had 1 field goal attempt in the last 6 minutes of that Game 1. So a lot of that has to do with the kind of attention that a guy like Durant or Kawhi Leonard or Giannis or Stephen Curry draws, and that means the others have to loosen up that a little bit. It's really important that the others contribute in a way that forces the defense out of that. Or perhaps Mike Brown is saying, like a lot of coaches will, and we just saw this in our series with Torrey Craig, Ty Lue's basically saying, if Torrey Craig beats us, we tip our hat. And I think Mike Brown at this point is saying, if anybody other than Stephen Curry beats us, so be it. And, so far that hasn't happened. So that's what I was just talking about a minute ago about it's got to be these secondary, this number 2, number 3, the secondary scorers. They're going to have to take some of that pressure away that's going to allow Stephen to roam a little freer. And, you're never going to be able to roam as free in the playoffs as you are in the regular season. It's just, there's just more defensive intensity. And Davion Mitchell is about as good as it gets.
Yeah.
So all those minutes that Davion's picking up Stephen Curry, I mean, he makes it really tough on anybody. So, that's just kind of the way it is right now. And I'm sure Stephen is going to have a game in him. He always does. He always will. He's going to have a fourth quarter in him. I was ready for him to take over the fourth quarter in Game 2. It just felt like it was trending that way, and it didn't happen. They shut off the valve. So that's old school playoff basketball, where you have to figure out ways to score outside of your number one player, and then hopefully that's going to pull from the number one player, and then that player can start to take advantage of it.
Brian, you do the Milwaukee Brewers play-by-play. I know that you're on TBS for Major League Baseball. You almost dropped the word baseball there. What is your thoughts on the Oakland A's announcing that they've purchased land, or they're going to purchase land in Las Vegas, and then sending out a memo or a note saying that, they're ready to go to Vegas?
Yeah, that's kind of, I'm on two sides of it. The one side is it's pretty sad, because as a guy who grew up just loving those A's teams and just part of the fabric of baseball, and it's sad. They've have a very important piece to baseball history. And then on the other end, it's a little frustrating for me, and I'm a little upset that they can't work out a deal with the A's in Oakland. And I understand. I don't know all the details of it, but I know a team is really important to a city, and I think that city leaders there either just didn't think it was that important, or feel like that's where they wanted to go with their funds on a lot of levels. And I can't blame them. Like, there's a lot of other stuff to pay for, and there's, we need schools, we need improvement in schools, and all kind of different resources that monies can go to. But I think a team is important to a city, and now there's another city that wants them. So just be very pragmatic about it, very realistic. And this is another city that wants a team, and they're going to get a team, and it is going to be massive. They're going to build $1 billion stadium there in Las Vegas, and but doesn't take away from the legacy and the history and the importance that Oakland has had in Major League Baseball. It's just something that's going to end pretty soon, and that is sad to me.
Nah, it was watching them get rolled by the Cubs yesterday in front of like 5,000. You see the clubhouse, and you just see the atmosphere, and it's just I feel so bad for A's fans out here in the East Bay and all the history and all the players that come from Oakland that play for the Oakland A's, including Dave Stewart and Ricky Henderson. So it is sad there. BA, have a good call tonight. We always enjoy talking to you. Should be dynamic, man. Should be dynamic. The Warriors have never been in the 0-2 hole. Yeah, they've never been in the 0-2 hole under Steve Kerr. I'm sure you guys will highlight that. Have a good call tonight with Stan Van Gundy.
Okay, thanks a lot. Good
Thanks,
to be with
Brian.
you guys.
Anytime, BA.